Hello and welcome to How you
Hello.
doing?
Hi, Char. What do you mean for a second? I want you to go. You tell what? Let me in for a second.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something. We've been married for 35 years.
That's a
Oh, God.
blessing. Neither one of you look old enough to be married 35 years.
Ah, thank you, Char.
How
Hey.
are you?
Kudos. Kudos.
But
I'm
You have
talking
such a
about I was
glow.
setting
You
up.
look like you enjoy what you do also.
Oh, girl, yes. I couldn't wait. I said, do you want to interview Char? Or me? I got this. I got this. Right. Let me interview Char.
Well, I'm honored.
Because I want to know. I want to know. I mean, you self-publish, and I have the platform for self-publishing books. And when I heard you say you did your book, I want to know. Okay, tell me all. Tell me all. Tell me what this book is all about. Because I know that you just got things going. And I'm back here in the studio listening to you. I'm like, wow. All of that, the blueprint, the blue book, I'm with you.
Yes.
Okay, so that is amazing. So you
My
set
life has
off.
been amazing. So how things opened up, and I think that's why the book has been such a blessing. And here it is. But this is why
Yes.
it's been such a blessing for people. I don't know if you can
Put
see
it
it. It's hard for me to
Put it
figure
in
out
front
the
of your face.
lighting.
There you go.
There
There
it
you
is.
go. Yes, yes, yes. Oh,
Yes.
goodness.
So,
Ah,
but it's been such a blessing because I feel like the book has sold itself. And I believe when you're in line with what people ask me for a book for 25 years. Like, when is your book coming out? I was like, I'm not writing a book. I mean,
yes,
I didn't
yes,
see it
yes,
coming. And so
yes.
I think one of my dear friends, who's one of the vice presidents of programming for the urban part of XM Sirius, and he asked me maybe 2-3 years before the book came out, and I had no intention of writing a book. He said, "When's your book coming out? We're going to do lunch." He said, "When's your book?" I don't have a book coming out. He's noticed how
Mhm.
many books you have coming out, not if you have one. He said, because you have a different take on life and a different take on the industry, and you know every daggone body, but you walk around like you have like a regular job.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes. So, I mean, hearing about you, what do you actually do for the entertainment world?
well, I started out in the mid 90s, and I immediately got a job 3 days after walking into a comedy club as director of operations for a major
Right.
comedy club. So I started meeting all these different entertainers. I wasn't sure what to do. And I talk about, my first time meeting D.L. Hughley and how that happened unexpectedly, and Paul Mooney. And then I started meeting, Monique and DC Curry and everybody who was, coming up then. And within 6 months, I was talent exec on a tour related to Def Jam and working on movie premieres and things of that nature. And things just started unfolding. By 1999, I got a call from one of my big brothers from Morgan State who had a group called Drew Hill, and they had sold maybe 10 million worldwide. And he said, I want you to be my business partner. I was like, who? So
Oh,
I was working with
goodness.
comedians, and I worked with probably over 100 by then after, a couple of years. But I said, who? He said, you. And I said, I don't know anything about the music industry. But remember, I told your husband, I'd say yes and pray about it later. I was like, okay.
Yes,
So we
yes.
launched
I
the
like
record
that.
label. We
I
launched the
like
record
that.
label. It changed my life forever. And,
Wow.
that's what opened up the music industry. And I realized how uninformed people are when it comes to entertainment and the music business. So it really did change my life forever working there with him. And learning the music business inside and out quickly, because I wrote the proposal for our record label, to get
Okay.
investors and things of that nature. So I learned it well enough to teach. So I decided, in the book I talk about it a little bit, I decided to do a conference, like not a conference, I want to do a meeting with like some teenagers, and just
Okay.
educate a few people. I can touch a couple of lives, I'll be happy. But it turned into something I never expected. And so
Yes.
it made history.
But
So
see,
my little
that's the
idea.
exact thing.
So
Oh,
I
that is
talk about it in the
awesome.
book and how it unexpectedly unfolded into one of the biggest events ever. And so, I mean, things just kept opening. And so then I inadvertently met another guy through some comedians I was doing a promotional party for a launch of a magazine. And so she said, "Oh, Char, I got this guy I want you to meet." I had no idea what the guy did, but he was so connected on the other side of the industry, and he needed my help on the business side. So he started plugging me with almost anybody I didn't already know. And I knew all the comedians by this time, So back in 97, I was meeting young Kevin Hart and all the other people I mentioned, that was back in 1997. So I knew like all the people on the in the comedy world for the most part who were doing anything, Deion Coles and everybody else who was just coming out then. And so he knew the music side. well. So he started introducing me to musicians, and he really impacted that little music idea to turn something huge. He impacted and helped make it huge. And then maybe after we know each other like 2 years, he called me one morning around 10 a.m. and he said, "You have a meeting with Floyd Mayweather Sr. in 20 minutes." I was like, "Oh, that's what we're doing today?" so I met with the dad on the phone, and we talked for over an hour. And after we got off the phone, he's like, "You have him wrapped around your finger." And he was like, "The rest of the family wants to meet you too." So that's kind of how it started happening. So a few months later, he called me, and he had Roger call me. And then a couple months after that, he had Floyd Jr. call me. And so that's how I met the Mayweathers, started working with them, on different private projects and stuff like that. So I never, had to get with like Leonard and all the other people behind the scenes and the promoters and stuff. They would just call me directly. And I worked the World Boxing Coalition with them 1 year, which was amazing. That was a whole week of nonstop, everybody in boxing, from Tyson to Holyfield to Cesar Chavez and Cesar Chavez Jr. It was like 3,000 people in attendance in Mandalay Bay. So imagine doing that, Roger and Floyd Sr. So it's a whole nother story.
Oh my God. So who haven't you met that you wanted to meet?
Who haven't I met? I wanted to meet Maya Angelou, and I feel like I should have been more assertive about meeting her. I haven't met Oprah, but I've been told by my associates in the entertainment, it's just a matter of time. She's going to love you. So I believe in destiny. I believe destiny happens, when it's supposed to. I believe everything aligns when it's supposed. God's timing is perfect. That's what I'm saying. So I believe when you put that energy out there, and it's already in your spirit what you desire. You know what I mean? I think that's to be biblical. The Bible says that God will give you the desires of your heart. But I always tell people, I don't know what I want or what I desire until God shows it to me.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's in line with destiny. It's in line with my purpose. It's in line with the reason I was created. So as I start to desire things, I don't know until I see it.
Well, there's another little caveat to that. People say God will give you the desires of your heart. Some people think of he will give you what you want. There's another term that thinks that God will put that desire in your heart.
Yes,
so
exactly.
That's probably what you're feeling. Do you, exactly have you ever, let me see. Well, CeCe Winans, were you on the other day when CeCe Winans was on Clubhouse?
No, I wasn't.
She was great. She was on there. Do you have any ties in like Detroit area or whatever? I have a gospel singer sister, and she's back there. So I was just wondering, did you kind of know the
I work with in Detroit. Now I've worked with Darius Brooks, and he's out of Chicago. And so I also managed James Greer and Company for a while. They're out of Minneapolis. I'm trying to think who's in Detroit, because there are 3,500 people in my phone. So I gotta put in the area code, and it'll remind me who I know in different cities.
Well, her name is Lawanda Nero Butler, but
that name sounds familiar. She had commercial success?
Yes, she's got about like 9 albums out or something like that. But when you mentioned Maya Angelou, our father, she and I are sisters, but she sent me a link where my father played piano or something like that. And she was actually doing a monologue like on PBS or something like that. And she was doing her poetry, and he was playing his piano in the background for her or something like that. So that's my Maya Angelou moment, I guess. So I just send you that.
That's one of the ones I regret not meeting. I never met Prince. I was around, so we always had like front row seats or second row. I never was around. I passed up that opportunity. I regret it to this day. One of my clients was on tour with him for years. And so he called me. He said, meet us in Denver. He's like, I want you to meet him. And I was like, I'm busy right now. And so I don't know what I was like on. I was like, I'm busy right now. I can't just fly to Denver right now.
You were busy.
That's exciting. That just shows you I don't really have a respected person. I'm really focused on the bottom line. And so I enjoy meeting creatives, but they're all creatives to me. I don't care how famous you are, how celebrated you are. They're all creatives. And so I know that if I'm working with them, they're depending on me to make some aspect of their dream can come true or perpetuate what they've already started. So that's what I see, the bottom line. And so, so I'm excited because they're creative, not because they're celebrated.
That's absolutely. Now, see, that's Carl right there. That's him all day long. You'll walk in the room and it's like, do you know who that was? Like, yeah, a person. Yeah. Hey, how you doing, man? So
Yeah,
that's him all day
exactly.
long. I'm a more like in the corner, like, oh my God, that's Will Smith. So,
people have crossed my paths, for the last 20 something years. So I haven't met him, but like I remember my first time or maybe second time in LA, I went to this place called George's, and I talk about that in my book too. And I'm sitting there outside at one of the patio tables, and Will Smith literally walks right by me, followed by Johnny Cochran. I'm like, because it was like the hot spot in LA back then. I think it was owned by Silent Partners with Norm Nixon and I forget who else, but it was like the hot spot back in the 90s. It was called Georgia on I think it was on Melrose or something.
Melrose.
But yeah, everybody who was anybody. I met Denzel there. He came in with his wife and they sat like right at the next table. And so yeah, it was always the hot spot.
Oh wow. So you only haven't met Oprah, and you didn't get to meet Prince, and you haven't got to meet Maya Angelou, but for the most part, you've met everyone that you've set out to meet.
There are not too many people I don't know.
Not too many people that you don't know.
Run pretty deep.
Wow, that is so awesome. So tell me about one. I know you have to go, but tell me a little bit about your experience on Clubhouse and what are you getting out of the Clubhouse vibe?
I was anti-app, adding another app to my phone. So I put it on my burner phone. That's how uncommitted I was to Clubhouse. I was like, I'm not putting my main phone. And my main phone is really an Android also. So I put it on my burner phone, which is a little iPhone.
Yes.
And so I was disenfranchised and unimpressed when I first got on because I was like, what are we doing here? So for me, time is money. So if I'm sitting there, I was like, it has to mean something. I don't care if it's family, friends, your conversation needs to mean something.
Right.
So I was sitting there for like a month and not participating. So I got added in January and not really participating because I couldn't figure out the lay of the land and how to do this efficiently. And then someone called me and said, you're on stage tonight. And I was like, well, I don't understand it yet. You've been on for a month. You're on stage tonight. So I got a little gist of it, but I still wasn't impressed by the things I was seeing and hearing. And then one night I tapped into an artist room and it was gospel singers going in. And I was like, I have found my people. So and then another night was R&B artists going in. I was like, oh my God. And then Rascal Flatts, the guy from lead singer Rascal Flatts came in there and we were all bugging over this young man who's one of my music babies now after a month. We talk almost every other day, but he's blind and his name is Envision. His voice when he sang and then he turned around and sang Never Would Have Made It after he sang this R&B song, he turned that room out. Everybody went crazy. And so I was thinking like, this is me. Law of attraction. And I'm like, well, if he's blind, how's he gonna know if I followed him? And I didn't say anything in the room. I didn't have anything to say that I thought would be impactful. It was still relatively new to me. That was like my second night of really feeling Clubhouse. So I didn't say anything. So I followed him and then I prayed. I was like, I don't know, let him somehow know I followed him. So a few seconds later, he followed me back and then I DM'd him. He DM'd me back faster than people who were sighted.
Right?
We got a chance to talk, like I think maybe a couple of days later. We talked on the phone for 2 hours. And so I said, your voice is so vicious, but more importantly, your spirit. And it's something about you that transcends all of that. So I just love his energy. So some of the artists I've met have made Clubhouse worthwhile. It really blessed my soul.
Yes, that is amazing. So Char, what do you plan to do next after this? Because there's a sequel coming.
To Just One Thing?
Yes.
People keep asking me when the next book is. I'm like, oh, slow down. But because it was the most challenging, rewarding thing I've ever done. So it's one thing to put a piece of you in print, but for it to sell out in other countries and all across, and I know I haven't fully even tapped in to every market. We still sold out 3 times. And so that's God. And then when I first got to speak on the main stage of NAACP, and it seemed like I just stumbled upon it. Like a friend sent me a link and they were like, this is who you contact if you want to speak at NAACP. I was like, really? And so they called me back. And so when I got there, I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anything about, the lay of the land. And so the coordinator, she said, I didn't know who you were, and I love your energy. I got you. And so I said, do you know how to get on Congressional Black Caucus? She said, I run that too. And so she put me on Congressional Black Caucus a few months later, and I was on the main stage for that, and books sold out. And I sold out when I was in that city, San Antonio, for the National Convention for NAACP. Following year, she brought me back for NAACP. And so and then she positioned me, so it's about positioning too. So God aligned that she really liked me and liked my story and liked what I was saying about the industry and how I was presenting my testimony in my book. And she positioned me at Congressional Black Caucus, where my girlfriend, April Ryan, who we went to school together, she's older than me, but we went to Morgan State together. So April Ryan, White House correspondent, is this side. And then Donna Brazile is over here. So I was like, I thought to myself, I'm not going to sell any books, but I'm in my own world right now. So one of the highlights of that day was before I knew Donna Brazile was going to be set up over here. And I think Paul Horton, who's a fashion influencer, or I don't know what Paul does, but he's an influencer. He was behind me over here in the corner. And so I was just in this corner of stardom, and but before I knew Donna Brazile was going to be set up next to me, she and her entourage came in, and I was on the main aisle. So anybody who's going to the main stage, my setup for my book before I went on stage, I was on the main aisle. So all the dignitaries, for lack of a better word, walked through there. So she walked past my display and she walked backwards. And she said, you better work. And then kept going. I was like, that made my day. I felt like as a new author, I had done everything right.
Wow. When was the book released?
It was released 2.5 years ago. And so maybe about a year and a half before COVID. Yeah. So my friend Mike Epps wrote the foreword. We've been friends over 25 years. I met him probably my first year in the entertainment industry. And so we've been friends ever since. And he's my friend, my confidant, my brother, all of that. So
yeah, I've met him. He's just a dream of a person.
He is. He's super sweet, We
were all in. We were in California, in Stockton, California. He did a live, and something was different about it, but we did a live there. And he just came out on stage and started on the floor and started talking to everyone and just really sharing, his personality. Like, hey, y'all, where's the after party at? So he was awesome.
He's had that same energy for over 2 decades. And so, yes, very real, very sincere.
Oh,
so he kept asking me, he said, what do you need? I was like, what you need? So he was like, I'm not going to say no. So then I said, well, I'm working on my book. You can write the foreword for my book. He's like, all right, bet, let's do it. And he said, what do you need? And I was like, nothing. So that's how it happened.
Oh my gosh. So Char, is there anything that you haven't done? Haven't been any places?
I've been really blessed because I write things down. I just believe, make it plain, not for God, but for yourself. It begins to speak in your life. And so I remember writing down Japan, and I remember writing down Italy, and I wrote down Spain. So I have not been to Spain yet. But as God would have it, one day I was just on Facebook, and there was a girl I knew through friends. My real life friends knew her. And so we were just chatting one morning. I don't know how we started chatting, going back and forth in Messenger. And so I said, where are you located? Thinking she was going to say LA or something because she was up at a weird time. And she said, Japan. I was like, oh man, I've always wanted to go to Japan. Well, come on. I was like, come on, what? She said, come on to Japan. She said, I have a beautiful palatial home here. She said, you're more than welcome to stay. I'll show you around all over the islands. And she said, let's do it. And so I was like, oh, okay. So we started talking on the phone and coordinating, and I got my ticket to go to Japan, stayed 2.5 weeks. Her home was gorgeous. And it was just beautiful. And I said, I thought it would be small. She said, this is American housing. So it was beautiful and palatial. And that was a dream vacation. And then one of my other girlfriends I went to Morgan with maybe 2 years ago, right? About a year before COVID. She, every time she's traveled the world as a civil engineer, because we were both engineers back then. And so she'll always invite me wherever she is. She said, I'm in Germany, girl, come hang out with me. That's not on the list. So then she said, I'm in Kosovo. I was like, wait a minute, I wasn't good at geography. Let me Google that. Russia? No.
Okay.
She called me and said, I'm in Italy. I was like, I am getting a ticket ticket right now. And she had a beautiful home on the countryside in Italy. And it was just amazing. I stayed there almost 2.5, 3 weeks too, and went to 11 cities. And it was, I mean, I've had my dream vacations. All I do is get a plane ticket. So that's God.
Yeah,
So.
that is amazing. You seem like you've had a wonderful whirlwind of a life. I'm so gracious. I'm grateful to have you and have you to have just joined in and agreed to this interview. I thank you. I'm humbled by your presence.
I'm honored that you wanted to talk to me. I'm still honored when people want to hear about my story or ask me, because it feels regular to me. But I think when you're doing you, it should feel regular.
Yeah, it does. So you're going to send me a book autograph?
Sure.
Me. Do you understand? Me. Not him.
Text me your information.
You know I will. You know I will. I'm so grateful. We ran over your time.
Because you asked not.
That's right. And it's Char, I've been wanting to do this with my son. My husband does his portion of home base and entertainment and entrepreneurs, and I focus on the authors. But I have a son that's in entertainment. I've been wanting him to do this for entertainment, but it seems like he's in his little niche and like, I got to do this in my way. I'm like, how are you going to make it if you can't do people? And he loves people, but he thinks that he has to do it his way. So if you had anything to say to him, business-wise, he's great with music and he's an adorable person, but what kind of advice would you give him to launch himself, to ingratiate himself? And I think it has to be.
People say openly entertainment, like it's an umbrella. And so what is he trying to do?
I think he does rap, but I think his love and his passion, to produce and do music. I don't even know all the terminologies, but very careful, very, very careful of the industry. And so, yeah. I know he's going to be looking at this interview. So his name is Brandon. Well, he goes by Clip the damn gorilla or something. So,
Gotta have a cool name.
Yeah, gotta have a cool name. And he's
enough for Sir Mix-a-Lot and Coolio in San Francisco.
Yeah. How did that go?
It went very well. What I do, I work with CPA networks. These I know you've probably heard about CPA networks, and he was in the room with maybe billions of dollars of advertising dollars, and he performed for them. And my thing was back then to make sure he had that degree in his pocket. He understood business. I didn't want him chasing all that hype stuff, because that fades and you will fade. Okay, but it does. He does. But he's very intelligent. He's a rapper with a degree, and everything he did, I made sure that he did not use certain words in his songs. And I'll send you some information on so you can hear some of his songs. But here's what really fascinated me about my son.
Hurry up, because Char has to go.
Yeah, this is going to take about 1 minute. Yeah,
I'm looking to make sure I can connect to this next interview on time.
Yeah. See, and she's giving us extra time. You're talking slow.
This is going to take 1 minute. Now, he has an opportunity. Okay, because I'm into martial arts, and he had an opportunity to perform the song for Karate Kid.
Okay.
Bruce Lee's wife, we met with her. Didn't even know who she was. Okay, and had an opportunity to produce a song, but he still had that. I'm going to put some little bad words, but he didn't say the bad words. He just said the B word. He said peaches.
Peaches. Okay.
Yeah. He blew that shot. I didn't know until I think it was like about a month ago that who she was. But just saying, you had an opportunity, you missed it, and that's the way it goes. But would you go ahead and give us the honor to invite you back?
Oh, sure. Just schedule it.
Okay.
That's the challenge.
That's all right. We work with you.
Yes.
You said, put it in the calendar so it can ding me. I said, don't worry, I got you.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, if it comes to my Gmail, then I'll get like a little notification or something will ding. So
yeah. Well, Char, you have been more than gracious, so we will let you go. I did just want you to give shout out to Brandon and tell him, something. because he's going to see this
Brandon, keep
interview.
God first and follow those things that people naturally love about you, and therein you will find your purpose, and you'll find where you fit into the grand scheme of things. And don't pattern yourself after someone you've seen before, because they already happened. So your journey is going to be totally different than anybody else's.
Amen. Oh yeah, he'll receive that well.
I mean,
He loves God.
it's real. I mean, so a lot of people, everybody wants to be Beyonce, but I tell people all the time, you know, maybe you're supposed to be a nurse, or maybe you're supposed to be a baker. Maybe they love your cakes down at the church, and you talk about, I'm here to sing. And
Yes,
that's where people miss
yes.
the mark, because you could be baking for every concert across the country with signature cakes and all the celebrity events and making millions, but you busy trying to hold the mic instead of go ahead and do what people love about you.
Yes,
that's
yes.
right.
Turn it
Amen.
into a franchise. Turn it into
Preach.
a platform that's bigger than life. You know, so that's what you can turn into, something that's bigger than life. The thing that people mindlessly respond to about you, because that's how innate your purpose is. That's how innate where you fit into the grand scheme of things is. The goal is to figure out where you fit into the grand scheme of things, not to do something you see way over there, because that's always going to be stressful. Being an engineer was stressful because I was good in math. I was good in science. I graduated #1 in the state of Maryland. I was an academician for real, but it was challenging. It was taxing on my brain because I wasn't supposed to be there. It doesn't matter if you're good at it. Doesn't matter if it's easy. Is it where you fit into the grand scheme of things? Is the universe waiting to bless you in that capacity? And that's
but see, you had to do that because you had to get that out, and you had to prove that to yourself.
I had to travel that road just to almost go crazy and get right back to myself and say, God, any way you bless me, I'm cool. When you relent, greatness is coming.
Oh,
just
man.
relent.
Oh gosh. I'm leaving. Goodbye. Then you drop the mic, and I'm just gonna go because we can just go on and on. And I don't want you to miss your from time. I'm not going back to them because they talk too much.
6 minutes out, and I gotta find this email.
Bye. Bye. We love you. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye. Take care.